So if you're going through a really painful breakup, that intense pain that you're going through, that agonizing desperation, is going to drive you to want a fix. If you're in pain, if you're on fire, if you're being tormented, your brain's going to activate every cell that it has and try to think of some quick way, some proactive way to get yourself out of that pain. That desperation will drive you to listen to almost anybody, to try almost anything. Enough pain will motivate your mind to open up yourself to things that maybe you wouldn't have considered in the past. I've had multiple people that are very successful in very competitive, high-end professional fields. I've had multiple doctors, multiple lawyers that I've spoken to as clients that will tell me things that might surprise you. And they'll even admit to me, these are very accomplished people that'll say something like, I didn't want to tell you this at first, but while I've been talking to you, I've also been talking to a fortune teller and even another relationship coach. In other words, look, and it's not a judgment. When you're in pain, you'll listen to anybody. You'll try just about anything if you're in enough pain. So I want to try to kind of put this out there just to kind of give some foundation. So in the middle of the pain, you might have something to listen to help you kind of identify the most effective voices. Because along with hearing who other people reach out to and who they talk to when they're trying to win their ex back or heal a relationship or reclaim a love that they know they don't want to lose. But a lot of times somebody will set up a call with me just to tell me they're trying to recover from listening to somebody that they shouldn't have listened to. Like they listen to that, and I'm not trying to dog people that are energy coaches or anything else. I'm just saying sometimes in your pain, you'll make decisions that aren't actually driven by thought. They're not really driven by a principle. They're not really driven by anything other than sheer desperation. Sheer desperation, fear, and sometimes even logic. What sounds logical are actually bad motivators, bad decision makers for you to decide what you should do next to try to win your ex back. So I want to give you a few examples. Now, some of these examples aren't bad people. They're not manipulators. As a matter of fact, the people that tend to give the worst advice are sometimes people that are on your side. Sometimes your friends, your family gives you the strongest advice and you think you should trust them because they know you best. They might even know your ex. They might even know some of the background of the relationship. But that friend and that family, a lot of times they're on one of two ends of the spectrum and both of them are bad. It's either the friend that tells you, can I be honest with you? I never liked him. I never liked her to begin with. You can do better than them. Now, sometimes that's coming from a jaded friend, somebody that's secretly been jealous of the relationship that you had. And actually it bothered them to see that you were happy. Maybe it bothered them that somebody else had influence with you. Somebody else was taking your time. And now that that person's gone, they're really glad to see you unhappy. They just don't want to admit it. So sometimes they're going to try to sabotage you. And this can come from people that you normally wouldn't think would do that. It can also be friends and family that sincerely love you. Jealousy's got nothing to do with it. But when you're hearing about the pain of the other person from the person you love, let's just say your boyfriend just broke up with you. Your sister and your mom and your brother all hate him because they have an allegiance to you. They have a loyalty to you. They don't want to hear about how you've been hurt. Even if you played a significant role in the breakup, they're seeing your agony now. Seeing somebody they love in agony causes anger, causes a sense of protection. That's a good thing. But in that emotional rush to protect, defend, and comfort you, they hate the person that hurt the person that they love. They'll give you bad advice. Sometimes they'll give you advice that you can't even listen to. Something along the lines of, anybody that could hurt you like this, anybody that could walk away from you like this, you don't want anyway. Don't look back. You don't need to listen to them. As a matter of fact, you need to write them a letter telling them to screw off. You need to write them a letter sticking up for yourself. You get some red pill kind of principles. You get people that feed all the negative, and hurt can get translated into anger, sometimes instinctively. So a lot of times the people that call me will say, I was so hurt after the breakup, I didn't see it coming. And I got so angry that they could let me be in this much pain that I sent them a 3-page letter telling them to go to hell, telling them how much I hate them. I can't understand how they could do this to me, but now I think I made it worse. So listening to that extreme version of they're the bad guy because they hurt you and you're getting influenced by people that really want to support you is a bad thing. You want somebody that can listen, and even your close friends and family can help identify where you got something wrong. If you never got anything wrong, according to your friends and family, don't trust them to give you advice. They might be afraid of offending you, but they're not going to give you the truth. Usually, especially if it was a healthy relationship, this isn't true if it's toxic, if it's a narcissist, if it's a manipulator, if it's an addict, if it's somebody that's really hurt you physically, emotionally, very abusive. And by all means, listen to your friends and family. You're probably going to be so addicted to that relationship that it won't do any good anyway, but they're probably telling you the truth. But if it was a healthy, more average, non-toxic, non-abusive relationship, and everybody's telling you how right you are and how wrong they are, don't give in to that feeling. It might feel a little bit better in the moment, but it's not going to play off in the long run. That anger will fade, the hurt will come back, and now you'll have to deal with attacking the person that it wasn't so bad when they walked away, but you just poured gas all over the fire. You also don't want to listen to the people that have kind of a fairy tale mentality. A lot of times I see, especially sisters and mothers tend to do this. What they'll do, and it's bad for anybody, so I'm not trying to single out mothers and sisters, but they tend to be the ones, especially if they like your ex, and especially if you're the brother or the son. A lot of times your sister or your mother will see you as the good guy, and they don't, especially if they really like your ex and they think the two of you belong together, they can give you fairy tale advice. This might also come from a guy friend. They'll give you what I call fairy tale advice. They'll kind of say, well, if I were in her or his position, what would I want? If I were in his or her position, I'd want somebody to give me a grand romantic gesture. Yeah, but I just reached out to them to see if they were really sure about the breakup, and they said they were. Yeah, but I think what they really want, they want to see that you mean it. I mean, I would want to know that. I would want to know that the person is fighting for me. Maybe they don't think you're fighting for them enough. So it's usually that person that's going to encourage you, even though you've been turned down, even though you've been rejected by a smaller reach out, even though you've tried to ask them at the point of breakup, are you sure you want the breakup? They said, yeah, they were sure they wanted the breakup. A lot of times they're telling you what they would want somebody to do. They're kind of they're projecting themselves into the story. And in their story, in their happily ever after, they will want the person that's going to make the grand gesture, that's going to go get the ring and the flowers and the 17-page note, get down on one knee and pour their heart out. And if you're in enough pain, you won't frame that in your mind as being weak, clingy, or desperate. You'll tell yourself that that's you being transparent, that's you actually being brave. You're being brave enough to be vulnerable. You're being bold enough to be honest. And surely they can see that even though you've been rejected a little bit, you love them enough, you're strong enough, you're determined enough to fight for them. Surely that's got to move them. Your willingness to humiliate yourself through constant pursuit will be seen as evidence of true love. This is the person that wouldn't give up on me. So they'll kind of feed that fairy tale ending. Don't listen to that. If you've already tried to reach out and they shot you down, a bolder reach out is it's very, very rare. I can't think of a time where somebody has been turned down by the person that's breaking up with them and they came back with a bolder declaration of their love. And they went, you know what? That just reignited the attraction. Unless they told you, I don't want to be with you because you won't propose to me, then propose to them if you want to marry them. But if they're breaking up with you and at the point of breakup you said, I'm sorry, I really want this. Can we make this work? I'd be willing to give you whatever you want, whatever you need. I'm ready. I want to finally be the person you wanted me to be. And they say, no, it's too late. I don't want this anymore. And you say, well, here's a 3-carat diamond ring. And I just quit my job and bought a house and moved here. How does that, huh? That proves to you how much I want you. No, that accidentally proves how desperate you are to win back the person that you took for granted. That doesn't reignite attraction. So don't listen to the fairy tale happily ever after friend giving you advice. It's based on how they would see themselves, the fairy tale that they would want to be a part of. And it's a lot of times it's very authentic, it's very sincere, but it's not very effective. Don't listen to the red pill guy. Now look, there's a lot of things about the red pill movement that I'm actually in favor of. And please don't just attack me. Let me finish that. Sometimes really good men actually kind of accidentally pull themselves into believing they don't have a purpose, that they don't have meaning, that they don't have identity, that their life isn't worth living unless they're with the woman they love. Men can love so deeply, despite the fact that we kind of get stigmatized and accused of being tree humping cavemen that only want sex and don't really care about the person they love. That's not true. A lot of good men hurt more deeply than you'll ever really understand, and they can love so deeply that they accidentally cross over from love into what I call worship. They cross over and they love that woman so much, or they love that man so much, that they honestly can't envision their lives without them. That torment is incredible. So their sense of identity, their sense of purpose, and even more painful, their sense of worth, gets so tied to the acceptance or the rejection of them by that person that they love that it's just crippling. It's a level of pain that's really hard to put into words. It can really drive them to some dark thoughts and some dark places for a very long time. What the red pill movement has done is kind of come in and encourage the idea of self-worth apart from how a woman views you. I completely embrace that part. But sometimes the red pill movement has come in and the guys that are just like, come on, you don't need her. You don't need that, fill in the blank with some pretty derogatory terms. So in other words, to try to heal the wound that a lot of good men have felt, what they're really recommending is that you tear your heart out and start treating women like property. It's great to not worship a woman and convince yourself that you can't live without her. It's equally wrong and even more pathetic to convince yourself that no woman is worth being loved, and that if you show affection, if you show respect, if you show a willingness to sacrifice, if you show a willingness to put them above yourself at any time, then that's a sign of weakness. That's even more pathetic. What it's really doing is telling you that that person is not actually coming from a position of strength. Real strength is being able to say, I love you, but you don't want to be with me. And I value myself and my worth enough that I don't want to talk somebody into being with me who doesn't value me enough to choose me. As much as I love you, I have a sense of worth, purpose, and identity that's untouchable by you. Like I believe in God. I believe God made me for a purpose. I believe He made me with a reason and a meaning to my life that's untouchable by what any other flawed human being thinks of me. That doesn't make me conceited. That just means that I have a strong sense of who I am and what I'm here for. That's a good thing. That means when I love somebody, I love them. I love them out of choice. I love them out of a giving heart. I mean it. But if you love somebody so much that you don't have a sense of purpose, identity, or meaning outside of them, then you're loving them out of weakness. You're loving them out of desperation, and that's not attractive. They don't want to be a part of your life. Most people don't want to be a part of your life because you can't imagine living without them, and you have no meaning without them. They don't want to be the purpose of your life. They want to be a part of the journey of your life, and they want that life to have meaning, to be exceptional, to be exciting, to have purpose behind it, but they don't want to be that purpose. The other side of that is being so emotionally fragile and wounded, and truthfully at the heart of it, being so weak that because you've been hurt in the past, you're no longer willing to love somebody else. You're no longer willing to put your heart out there. And there's usually a few people like this that are so wounded that they're pretending to have strength in the comments. I never love somebody like that. Screw them. If they never want me, I never want them. I don't. Look, that's not real strength. Real strength is being able to take the hurt. Real strength is being vulnerable enough to risk the rejection. But if being rejected by somebody in the past had so much of an impact on me that it made me change my principles, it made me change my beliefs, it made me change my core beliefs and how another person is being treated, that's not evidence that I'm strong. Like I have an ex-wife that hurt me very, very deeply. At the end of that relationship, that was some of the most pain I've ever been in my life. It wouldn't be a sign of strength for me if, because I went through so much pain, that convinced me to never love deeply again. That would have just robbed me of the greatest love of my life, which is the woman I'm with now. If the pain of my past relationship was so great that it redefined my willingness to love and even how I saw love, that doesn't make me strong. That's not a sign. That's not a sign that now I'm stronger. That's just a sign that she hurt me so badly, I don't know how to rebuild my belief in love. So it's not actually the sign of strength that it seems like when people are pushing this red pill movement and treating and encouraging the idea to treat women more like property and to not show that you have a softer side, to not actually be willing to lift them up because there's always a constant risk of them redefining you and rejecting you as weak. I would also say don't listen to that friend that's like an armchair psychologist, somebody that just started reading about attachment styles, just started reading about narcissism, just started reading about borderline, just started reading about anything. Because whatever we've experienced, we tend to look for. Because whatever we're focused on, we tend to see. So a lot of times they'll just kind of have exclusionary or just like tunnel vision. Oh, you're doing this? I just read about that. Attachment styles, borderline, ADHD, narcissism. Most relationships kind of have a little bit of anything at any given point. Like I take pride in the fact that I'm not a narcissist, but that doesn't mean I have moments in my life that were narcissistic moments. I'm ADHD, but I've had moments in my life that look very much like bipolar. Every relationship at certain points is going to look like something that you're on the lookout for. So if somebody's just coincidentally saying, hey, I've been reading a lot about attachment styles and this is boom. Those attachment styles a lot of times also look like a lot of other things. You can also be comorbid with things. So being this doesn't mean you're not this. Being this and this doesn't mean that either one of them is actually the thing that caused the breakup. So it's really easy to kind of get lost on somebody who has a sense of confidence, especially when you're weak, when you're desperate, when you're in pain and you're looking for answers. Somebody that comes along that you might not normally trust to give you advice on how to mow your lawn. But when you're in enough pain and they come along and go, hey, I'm really confident this is what you're dealing with, there's a higher likelihood that you're going to say, I bet that's it. If it is what you think it is, can you tell me how to get them back? Yeah, I can tell you how to get them back. So you're going to listen to that because you have an incentive. You have a strong natural motivation to believe what they're telling you with confidence when you feel lost. I'm not even saying that they can't be right. Sometimes they might be right. I'm just saying be careful. Take a deep breath. Don't jump in and start making decisions and reach out attempts and plans based on what that person who just started studying something is telling you that it probably is. The last two are me and you. What I mean by that is relationship coaches can be some of the worst people to listen to. And it's one of the things that I'm very conscious of. Sometimes I understand, I'll have clients that say, I told people I'm talking to a relationship coach. They're telling me it's a horrible idea. I don't get offended by that. I get it. I understand. It's kind of got a shady connotation with the term relationship coach. I mean, what does that actually mean? Don't listen to a relationship coach that's telling you 100%. Like, look, it works on clickbait a lot of times. 100% do this, and 100% of the time they'll come back. Like, I'll tell you, if you call me, if you watch this channel, I'm not going to give you 100%. If I give you 100%, I'm playing to a fear, and I know that a lot of people are going to be in enough pain that even though they're conscious of the fact that I'm lying to them, they'll also think, but it's worth a shot. It's impossible to put that out there and not know you're taking advantage of somebody. So don't listen to a coach that's telling you 100% this is what you do. Don't listen to a coach that can't give you advice. Like, my calls are 45 minutes to an hour. I should be able to hear the details of your situation and give you an informed approach, strategy, or at least a read on what you're going through that has some meaning to it without me saying, and you need to sign up for another call. If somebody's telling you at the end of that call, well, most of the time, people in your situation, I have a 5-call package or a 10-call package. If you follow that 10-call package, I think I can promise you that you're going to get your ex back. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to what sounds like boilerplate. Like, I'm a believer, if you watch this channel, I'm a believer in no contact in a lot of situations. That's because the majority of breakups happen when somebody has taken that other person for granted. They think they can do better. They've kind of taken the heart that they at one time admired and loved so much and devalued. They thought they could do better. So reigniting attraction is usually the cause, or that loss of attraction is usually the cause of a breakup. So I'm a big believer in no contact. But I can promise you, I don't just summarily throw out no contact to everybody that talks to me. I want to hear the details of the situation. Maybe you caused it. If you were actually the cause of the relationship, doing no contact can reinforce that belief that you're not the person they're supposed to be with. If you really caused the breakup and you do no contact without taking accountability, without acknowledging their pain, a lot of times you're reinforcing that they made the right decision. And it says bad things about you if you can't take accountability because you're just married to this idea of no contact. That's still not a healthy relationship. Other times somebody will tell me the story and they actually did cause it. Sometimes you'll convince yourself you caused it. Other times you really did cause it. That relationship coach should not just tell you the same answer every time. They should be able to give you exact reasons for the steps, for the approach. They should be able to give you insight. They should be able to explain the whys. And if you question the why and they get mad at you, you probably have a bad relationship coach. They should be able to walk you through so you can understand the principles that cause the lack of attraction, that cause the attraction in the first place. They should be able to explain how that attraction was lost, what led to it, and be able to explain the principle of their next recommended step. If you did cause it, they should be able to walk you through the apology, what the apology should look like, what it looks like to over apologize for your draining attraction. In other words, it should be detailed, specific. If you feel like you're talking to a relationship coach and they're just going by crib notes. Well, how long were you together? 6 months? Okay. Somebody else involved? Okay. How far away do you live? Okay. All right, well, I'm going to give you 45 days. After 45 days, if they don't reach out, send this. And then if that doesn't work, you're done. Bye-bye. If it sounds too much like you're just going by paint by numbers, you're probably going by paint by numbers. And then the last person you should trust, which is going to sound really bad, I'm just being honest with you. The last person you should trust for quick decisions, let me add that caveat, is yourself. If you're going through a really painful breakup, you're going to be flooded. Your heart and your mind are going to be flooded with pain, with fear, and with what feels like logic. Logic is not a really good thing to go by in terms of reigniting attraction. We don't feel love and attraction based on logic. It's an instinct. It's what we feel. It's what we see. It's this sense that the person that we're looking at is a little bit too good to be true. It's just amazing. It's a sense of admiration that makes you feel like you're lucky to be with them. Hopefully they're looking at you the same way. But when you give into logic, when you give into fear, and when you give into desperation, what you're accidentally projecting in almost every case is this idea that I'm not too lucky. But when you give into fear, logic, and desperation, you're actually projecting the worst, weakest version of you. Now, it might feel like the right thing to do because it'll also feel like the most honest version of you. And we think to be honest takes courage. To show vulnerability, we're told all the time in romance and in love, vulnerability is a positive, needed thing for intimacy. So I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be honest. And if they know how much pain I'm in, my agony to me is an overwhelming piece of evidence that we belong together. If we didn't belong together, I wouldn't be hurting like this. I've never hurt like this in my life. I don't know how to go to sleep at night. I don't know how to breathe. If they just knew how much pain I was in, surely it would be the undeniable evidence to them that we belong together too. Because then they would know how much I love them. They know nobody else can love them the way that I do. Nobody else would hurt the way that I'm hurting right now. Your pain is not a strong motivator to reignite their attraction. You feeling at your weakest, you feeling at your lowest, you feeling at your most vulnerable and at your most honest is not the version of you that they fell in love with. They probably fell in love with you when you felt the most confident, when you felt the most relaxed, when you felt the most charismatic, when you acted and carried yourself like somebody who had a purpose and a meaning to their life that was greater than what they thought about you, what they felt about you. Clinginess, desperation, pity, sympathy, and guilt are attraction drainers. They're not attraction magnifiers. But to us, when we're in the pain, this just feels like the right thing to do. To do anything else is not only scarier, it feels dishonest. I want to win them back by being the real me. Well, let me suggest that the person that you are when you're in the most pain is not the truest version of who you are. That's the most honest version of you at that moment, but that's not the true representation of who you are at your best. Well, we attract and re-attract somebody by projecting the best version of ourselves, not the weakest, not the most vulnerable. Vulnerable can be good. Vulnerability has its place. But vulnerability is not the main motivator to get somebody to come back. So don't trust yourself. Don't trust that pain. Don't trust that panic. Like I said earlier, pain and agony, especially excruciating agony, will make you try anything. But it's not going to project the version of you that's most likely to re-attract them. So stop talking yourself into it. A lot of times people will do that and then they're beating themselves up even more. A lot of times, one of the number one things I hear when people call me, I wish I had found your stuff first. Or, I found your stuff and I knew I shouldn't do it, but I couldn't help myself. I sent them that 17-page letter. I kept calling them. I kept chasing them. I kept trying to convince them how sorry I was or how much they meant to me. I promise you, it's one of the number one things I hear that sabotages the relationship even more. Okay, but now that I told you a list of people who not to listen to, I'm going to kind of give you a description of somebody to listen to. You want to talk to somebody that you normally have faith in, that has reason for you to trust them. Don't let your pain, and sometimes instinctively, we'll start talking to somebody that we consciously know we don't trust. But it's almost like we're using them as a sounding board. And sometimes that person will agree with whatever we're saying. So we'll tell them, I've really thought about this a lot, and I think I'm going to reach out to them and tell them the 15 things I've realized. I've had these meaningful insights, and they need to know that I see why they broke up with me. They need to know that I've had these meaningful insights, and I can see why they broke up with me. I'm glad they did it, because I never would have realized the things that I see now. Now I just need to tell them what I've realized. They'll see that I'm the better version of me, and I'll tell them, hey, we can take it slow. So they don't have to jump back in. I just want to, and the person that you're talking to that you don't normally even trust or admire enough to get their opinion on anything is going, yeah, I would do that. I would do that too. So you don't want to talk to a yes man or a yes woman. Talk to somebody that you have faith in, that you trust their judgment. Maybe somebody that's in a successful relationship. If it is a relationship coach and you've watched their videos enough to get a vibe on them, to trust them, a sense of faith actually can lower anxiety. Research shows if you pray, or if you talk to somebody that you have a lot of confidence in when you're going through emotional anxiety, their feedback can actually lower your anxiety. If you're talking just to talk, if you're talking just to vent, it can actually raise your anxiety because you're not actually getting any kind of feedback. You're not getting any kind of critical thought process or concrete answers. So you just keep talking. The more you keep talking, the more you keep fixating, the more your mind just tells itself, this is important, this is important. So you end up creating this mind lock that it's really hard to crawl out of. So make sure it's somebody that you actually have confidence in, somebody that you have faith in, somebody that doesn't apply a one-size-fits-all approach to everything. You want somebody that can kind of walk through, that knows you or the relationship well enough to know, is this a healthy or is this a toxic relationship? Sometimes, what we don't like to admit, sometimes the most abusive, most toxic relationships are the most addictive. And just because you can recognize it with your mind, hey, this is abusive, this is a toxic, unhealthy relationship, that revelation doesn't suddenly make that addiction go away. Sometimes it can actually magnify it, because now you're thinking, what's wrong with me? I'm so weak and pathetic. I know it's not a healthy relationship, but I still want them back so much. That tells me two things. If I want somebody back who's treated me so poorly, I must be broken, and I need them because I know I'm broken, and who's going to want me? And they must be incredible. If I can identify that they're not a healthy relationship, but I still want them anyway, that's even more evidence of how incredible they are, that I'll probably never love this deeply again. So you want somebody that can help you identify, is it a healthy relationship? Is it an unhealthy relationship? Is what you're feeling love, sincere remorse, and loss of a relationship that you took for granted? Or is it an addiction? Is what you're feeling so tormenting about that to you is undeniably love? Unhealthy addiction feels like the most intense love you've ever felt. So normal people come along and tell you, you don't love them and they don't love you. You don't understand. You don't understand what I'm feeling. You don't understand how consumed I am with this person. You weren't there when we had our great moments. So I know what I feel is love. You want somebody that can kind of walk you through it, talk you through it, and help you understand that. Once you know if it's toxic or if it's a healthy, unhealthy relationship, did you cause it? Were you taken for granted? Did you take them for granted? Did they make the mistakes and manipulate you and walk away? Did they discard you and you didn't deserve it? Or did you take them for granted? Did you take advantage of them, kind of assume they would always be there? You want somebody that can help identify that. If you did cause it, you want somebody that can help you understand. It's like you're in a state of emotional panic. You want somebody that can calmly walk you through and help you identify things in a calm, reasonable, evidence-based way. Give you strong reason for what the encouragement they're giving you. Give you strong explanation for why they're recommending what they're recommending. And it matters that you trust them. If you don't trust them, you'll second guess it. So find somebody that's reasonable, that knows you, that loves you enough to tell you when you were wrong, that loves you enough to tell you if this is healthy, if this is unhealthy, and can help you see it with multiple examples. So it's not just anybody. Sometimes it is a relationship coach. I hope that's what I provide with the people that call me. But no relationship is perfect. No relationship coach is perfect. I just hope that this kind of helps you identify what's good advice, what's a good person, what's a good source to go to, and what's not. Every situation is different. Details really do matter. But one size fits all or one approach fits all is not a good way to go. So I hope this has been of some kind of help. Please leave me some comments or some stories or some questions in the comments below. And if this has helped, please give me a like and a subscribe. I could really use it. Thanks a lot. Much appreciated.